guys, and welcome to Brown Boy Reading, your one and only destination to books. That was how do I do this? I feel like this is the most awkward stage of any channel, the first video where you have no idea what to say and you have no idea what to do, honestly, because I don't. I have zero clue how to get this thing started. Anyway, since November just went by, I thought the best way to get things started would be to do a wrap-up. Of course, I'm not gonna do like a wrap-up for the entire year. Like, I've read, I think, 100-something books, so it wouldn't be fair on me, and it definitely wouldn't be fair on you guys. Like, I wouldn't put you through that. Not in the first video, at least. So, in the month of November, I read almost 14-ish books and about 7 novellas. November was a really good reading month for me. The fact that I finished 14 books speaks for itself, but also that I read some really good books. You know, like, as a reader, like, the one thing that matters the most is reading stories that you actually enjoy and that you want to, tell your friends about. Anyway, let's get started with my November wrap-up. So the first book I read in November was What If It's Us by Becky Albertalli and Adam Silvera. What If It's Us is a story about Ben and Arthur who have a chance encounter at a post office, and then we follow these two as they try to find each other and try to deal with relationships and family and friendship. It is honestly just beautiful. Ben and Arthur are like the cutest couple you could ever think of, and honestly, like, if it wasn't for the ending, this would be a solid 5-star. The next book I read was The Raging Ones by Christy and Becca Ritchie. The book is set in a world where people find out their death day, the day they are born. So the story follows 3 characters who have lived past their death day and are on a mission to get into this space academy program so that they can escape their planet. I gave the story 3 out of 5 stars. Not that it was bad, like, I'm actually looking forward to the sequel because of how the story ended. My biggest issue with the story was how things just seemed to happen. It didn't have a proper structure. A villain just popped up towards the end just because we needed a big finale. But other than that, it was a pretty good story. And if you love space operas, I would definitely recommend it. So the next 3 books are part of a series called the Meteor series by Meg Cabot. I read book 5, 6, and 7, Haunted, Twilight, and Remembrance. And I also read the novella that came out between Twilight and Remembrance called Proposal. The story follows Sue Simon, who is a mediator, which means she can see and talk and interact with dead people. Every book follows a ghost and an adventure. It's a pretty decent book. I think I gave Haunted like 3 out of 5 stars, Twilight 4 out of 5, and Remembrance 3 out of 5. The next book I read was Wizard for Hire by Obert Sky. This book follows our main character Ozzy, whose parents have moved him into this secluded area in the middle of, a woods. The story starts by the parents getting captured, and Ozzy basically, grows up in the secluded areas, and when he comes of age, he wants to find his parents. He sees an ad for a wizard for hire. I gave this book 3 out of 5 stars. Now, I love middle grade, and I went into this book having certain expectations based on the cover, which is beautiful, as you can see. But the story did meet some of them. It had a very unique idea about the story and a unique twist on the whole wizard thing. For the novelty of it, I liked it, but it just wasn't what I was expecting, especially since I read reviews about how the book kind of reminded people of Harry Potter in many ways, which is kind of misleading. The next book that I read was one of my most anticipated reads of 2018, and it was The Lady's Guide to Petticoats and Piracy by Mackenzie Lee. And this is a sequel / follow-up / companion book to The Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue that came out last year. I loved Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue, so I knew I was gonna love it. And I did. I thoroughly enjoyed this book. The story follows Felicity Montague as she goes on her own adventure. I'm not gonna say anything more because I feel like you gotta experience the story from the very beginning. It's interesting, challenges you. The evolution that Felicity goes into is very inspiring. Definitely recommend this book. Plus, this book also has asexual rep, so go for it. The next book that I read was by one of my favorite authors. The book is City of Ghosts by Victoria Schwab. So far, I've read Vicious and the Shades of London trilogy, and this is her middle grade novel, which is honestly, first, it's really interesting. Like, I love the execution of a character who can see ghosts. This is like the second type of book where a character can see a ghost that I'm reading. So I like the execution of it, I like the story, I like the characters, and I mostly love the setting of Scotland. You can't go wrong. Scotland was just creepy, it's gritty, it was, you know, wet and foggy, so it kind of fit very well into the story. The next book that I read was Darius the Great Is Not Okay by Adib Quran. I gave this book 3 out of 5 stars. I kind of have mixed feelings about this book. This book followed Darius as he goes back to Israel to meet his mother's side of the family, to learn about his heritage, and at the same time he learns about himself, he learns about his father, he learns about this whole world of culture that he didn't know about. So for the first half of the story, I really enjoyed the story. Like, I felt so close to Darius and his experience. It was super sweet. It's just the second half of the story that the author started to lose me a little bit. Things got a little convoluted. Conflict came out of nowhere in certain places. I might reread it again to see how I feel about it at a later date, but for now, it was a pretty okay book. I would definitely recommend it though if you want a coming-of-age story that talks about a very different culture than your own. The next book that I finished was the second book in the Artemis Fowl series, Artemis Fowl and the Arctic Incident by Owen Colfer. I own like 7 or 8 books of Artemis. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I own 6 Artemis Fowl books. I've owned them for a long time now and didn't bother reading it until it came out that Disney was adapting it. And then I saw the trailer for it. I hope you all did too. And I liked it. The first book was pretty good. It was pretty decent. I liked the story. So I thought I'd give it a try again. And I read the second book. Once again, I was pleasantly surprised. It wasn't an amazing story, I would say, but it's a really good middle grade story. I'm pretty sure I'm going to continue on with the rest of the series. My only problem with this book was I thought Artemis Fowl was supposed to be a villain. The author tried to humanize him on this one. I thought he was this evil genius. Don't make him not evil now. That just defeats the whole purpose of it. The next 3 books are Nancy Drew books. I grew up reading Nancy Drew. Like, they were the first book series that I started reading. They hold like a very special place in my heart. I've been reading a story or 2 every year, but this time I read 3 stories. I read Nancy Drew's Mystery Letters, Password to Larkspur Lane, and The Professor and the Puzzle. Fairly decent story, fairly decent mysteries, nothing amazing or shocking about them, but they hold a very special place in my heart, and I will continue reading them because, you know, nostalgia. I also read The Ghost of the Shadow Market 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Some were good, some were bad, some were really good because they added to the overall understanding of the Shadowhunter world and of the story that's gonna be continued in Queen of Air and Darkness. I reserved this last part for a book. It's not even a book actually, it's more like a screenplay, and I think you know what I'm talking about. It's Fantastic Beasts and the Crimes of Grindelwald by J.K. Rowling. To say that I don't like it would be an understatement. Granted, I have not seen the movie yet, but just my enjoyment of the screenplay and the story that was unfolding was like fairly non-existent. If I could give it less than 1 star, I definitely would. I wouldn't recommend it to anyone. Don't waste your money and buy it. Yes, the cover is very pretty, but we can probably buy better books with the money. That was my wrap up for November. Definitely let me know if you read any of the books that I read and how you felt about it, cause let's talk books. Hopefully I'll be back with a new video soon. Until then, goodbye.